All right, so last night I had the privilege of going out and seeing the Marvels. And heading into this movie, I had all-time low expectations that it looked like this movie was going to be terrible. I didn't enjoy any of the trailers. There was no hype. And on top of all of that, Marvel did something they never do, and they hid the review embargo until the day before the movie. And reviews were coming out, and things didn't look good. It started at like a 52%, and it kind of went up a bit, and now it's hovering around the 60%. So I had really low expectations going into this thing. I personally haven't been excited for Marvel for at least the last year for sure, where it feels like they've been releasing a lot of mediocre products and are a far shadow of the company that they used to be. Where I used to go to a Marvel movie and I would expect a good time, and now I go to a Marvel movie and I hope for a good time. And often I've even stopped going. I haven't watched Thor: Love and Thunder, I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that's crazy because I'm a massive comic book nerd. That I am the demographic who used to go to all of these things and was so excited and cared about the characters and grew up loving these characters before they were ever movies. And so I'm kind of the target audience for this stuff, and I don't care anymore. And so I went into Marvels with really low expectations, expecting to get another Eternals or another Doctor Strange 2, something of that sort. But what I found myself feeling in the theater was actually enjoyment. And on top of that, I actually began to get excited for the MCU again. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? And so I want to dive into it with you guys, just kind of ramble for a bit about some of my thoughts. This is going to be full spoilers because I just want to talk about some of the things I liked, some of the things that didn't make any sense. But in general, what I want to say is that The Marvels is actually worth seeing. That I think it's a good film. Do I think it's a great film? No, but I would put it in line with like the first Doctor Strange and with the first Captain Marvel, where it's like one of those films that you can watch, have a good time. You're probably not going to watch it again, but it's not like I would avoid seeing it again. Where if a group of friends was like, hey, you want to go see the Marvels? I wouldn't say, heck no, I ain't doing that, like I would for Eternals or even Doctor Strange 2. But for this film, I would be like, yeah, that's fine. But I would never go out of my way to watch it again. But it was genuinely a good film, and I had a great time. And so let's dive into this thing. So first off, I want to go through some of the things that don't make any sense. And maybe you can help me out in the comment section down below, because I didn't watch the Miss Marvel show. So maybe I'm missing some of the stuff that would explain some of the things that were confusing. But this movie, again, is a good movie. I enjoyed myself, but it's got some problems. And so let's dive into some of the problems. First problem, the Freaky Friday stuff still didn't work. I don't know why they did it. I don't know why they felt they had to do it. They could have not done it and just had Nick Fury bring these three together to fight this threat. Just in general, that you could have had Kamala Khan show up because she had the wristband thing, and so Nick Fury needs the two other Marvels, I guess, to protect her, and you could have just done that. That would have brought the three together in an entertaining way. The Freaky Friday stuff didn't really make sense, so I understand why Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau were switching places, because they went both into the thing and somehow it screwed up something and they were swapping places every time they used their powers. Okay, it doesn't make sense why Miss Marvel was swapping with them, because she wasn't involved in that. And if you want to say it's like the gauntlet thing, then I'm like, okay, but then why was the other lady who was the villain not also switching with them, because she had the other gauntlet, and if the gauntlet's what's causing it, why wouldn't she be swapping as well? It just didn't make a lot of sense. On top of that, there was this scene where they started singing and they went to a planet where the people had to speak through song, and I don't like musicals to begin with, so I was like, oh no, like this is where things are going to go off the rails. And luckily it didn't last very long. It lasted a little longer than I would like, but that was another thing where I was like, why is this in here? This wasn't really necessary. It was supposed to be a joke, I guess, but it didn't really work for me. But it was, thankfully, this movie's runtime helps it, where it being short is good, because you kind of just get to all the basic points, and if there's something that's annoying you don't like, it disappears pretty quickly. But on top of that, there's other things that don't make sense. So I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, so they've changed Miss Marvel's powers from the comic books to the Marvel Universe. That's fine. And it seems like her powers come from the gauntlet thing that she was wearing. And so I was really confused that when the gauntlet got taken from her, she still had powers. She was using them. Am I the only one who was like, what? I thought her powers came from the gauntlet. And maybe I'm missing something because I didn't watch the Miss Marvel show and I should go back and watch it. And I probably will actually now. But that was weird and I was very confused at that. Another thing that didn't work is that all of the emotional beats of me feeling bad, one for Captain Marvel and her essentially destroying this planet and the guilt she had, I felt none of it because they just told us this happened. I feel like we were missing a Captain Marvel 2 where we actually got to watch that and where the ending of the movie would be a big twist where it turns out she's the villain, and that would have been really interesting to see. And I feel like I would have felt the emotional weight of that, and so I didn't feel that at all. And another thing that doesn't make sense of it, so Captain Marvel late into the film reveals, oh, I've got all this guilt from me essentially killing all these people and this is all my fault. But in the beginning of the movie, she's like killing these people left and right with no remorse. She's showing up and like fighting them constantly. She tells people that they shouldn't trust them. Like it was just very weird to go from her clearly fighting them as an enemy and having no remorse to then all of a sudden her being like, I have all this remorse because I'm the one who killed them. And I was just like, then why do you continue to kill them? Why would you not be like, hey guys, I'm really sorry. You were under control by AI and I thought I would free you, but I made it worse and I want to help you out because I'm Captain Marvel. Let's take you to a different planet or like fix this thing. Didn't make any sense. Also, another thing that didn't make any sense, I'm pretty confident that flying through the sun with your powers isn't going to make a sun start up again. But again, I'm watching a movie about a girl with like, I don't know, powers from a thing that she shot and exploded. So I also have to take like the logic with a little bit of grain of salt, but I was like, what? This is okay. That's fine. Also, this made no sense. So we're dealing with like a terrorist, right? That this villain is like a terrorist going around terrorizing things, and then they're fighting her, and then Captain Marvel's like, oh, it's all my fault. I should have helped them. And I didn't. And so let's actually team up with the villain and go and help her. And everyone's like, okay, like let's help her get her resources back. And let's stop fighting the terrorist and trust her. And then immediately she like betrays them. And I'm like, yeah, what? She has shown no remorse, no feeling towards anyone. She's still a terrorist despite her like sad backstory for her people and Captain Marvel wrecking things. Why would Captain Marvel, who's like a warrior, who understands how corrupt this lady is, trust her in them? That made no sense. I was like, there's no way Captain Marvel would actually trust her. And I was like, that was so silly. And it was just to create more tension. Whatever. And then another thing that I just didn't feel anything for was Monica Rambeau being stuck in a different universe and how sad Captain Marvel was. And I was like, okay, I just don't feel it because they've had like no connection. And I've never seen them interact until this movie. And so it just kind of fell flat where I was like, I understand I'm supposed to feel emotions here, but I feel nothing. And the same thing for their entire relationship. And I really get annoyed by characters in superhero movies who are like, I can't believe you were busy doing superhero stuff and you were too busy for me to come back and hang out with me as a child. And I'm like, Monica Rambeau, she was like, Captain Marvel was literally saving the universe. And you're sitting here whining and holding a grudge because she didn't come back and hang out with you during your childhood. Like, what the heck are we talking about? Like, that kind of stuff in superhero movies always drives me nuts. It's like when Mary Jane's like, Spider-Man, I can't believe you don't have time for our dates because you're too busy saving New York from dying. And you're just like, Mary Jane, what are you talking about? Shut up. This is dumb. He's Spider-Man. He's got responsibility to do. Same thing with Captain Marvel, where I was like, this relationship is dumb. And the guilt that Captain Marvel has from it, like, I didn't buy any of those emotional points. And some of the logic just didn't make sense. The cat scene where they're eating people, it didn't bother me, but it just was confusing because they were like, we only have 10 pods, just get everybody on it. But then apparently they never did that because they kept all the pods. It would have made sense if Nick Fury was more like, oh, I've got an idea, and the cats like ate the people. But whatever, it was supposed to be a joke. I'm not going to take it that seriously. But with that being said, those are kind of the things I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And now let's dive into some of the things I actually enjoyed. So first off, the reason why I think I enjoyed this movie so much was the chemistry between the three characters, that they were actually really fun to see interact. Kamala Khan, I was scared for because in the trailer she seemed super annoying, but I actually really liked her character and kind of that like fish out of water, almost like a Tom Holland character like Ant-Man, where when they're hanging out with these superheroes, they're like, wow, like they were fans of them before. And so that really worked, and seeing her interact with them was great, and the three of them together was actually really great. I think Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is incredibly underutilized in the MCU. Ever since the first phase, they've really kind of left him on the back burner. And having him show up again made me just remember, like, man, I like the MCU so much. There are so many cool characters and things that I really enjoy. That, in all honesty, the main heroes and characters were the reason why I had a good time in this film. And despite some of the logic stuff that doesn't make sense or the emotional beats that I didn't feel, I had a good time because I loved being with these characters. And I feel like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel did the best job in this movie that she's done in the whole MCU. That in most of the MCU, she's kind of been a robot. She hasn't really had personality, but here she really did. And I think that her character, if she continues to be like this, is really great. And they're setting up the trio of these three to have a really cool, lasting relationship that I'm really intrigued to see. And I thought that even with the comedy for the MCU, a lot of their comedy hasn't landed, but actually I was in the theater and the comedy landed with me and with everybody. That it was nice to have jokes that actually landed, that there were no real duds. The only one I feel like people would not like is the musical one, which I totally get, because if you're not into musicals, you're really not going to like when they start singing for like 5 minutes. But I really actually enjoyed it. I feel like Kamala Khan's family is incredibly hilarious, and I actually want to go back and watch Ms. Marvel just to see her family, and so I am going to actually do that and finish up Loki season 2, because apparently it ends insane. And so, yeah, the reason why I enjoyed this movie overall was just the characters, that I really found myself getting excited again, because that's what made the MCU great. Great characters, having great interactions, and we were getting great stories. And while this isn't a great story, it's a decent story, and the characters, for me, bring it through the roof, where I actually had a really good time. And lastly, the thing I want to talk about is that post-credit scene. So, in all honesty, the most exciting part of this movie is the post-credit scene, where Monica Rambeau is thrown into the different universe, and she wakes up in a bed, and she sees who she thinks is her mom, and is kind of freaking out. And then the Beast shows up from the X-Men movies, and that got me so excited, because what this post-credit scene means is that Fox's X-Men are going to 100% be involved in the MCU during this Kang Dynasty kind of stuff. I imagine that they're going to show up in the Secret Wars, and then actually we'll probably get Tobey Maguire back and a lot of those characters to actually fight in the Secret Wars movie. But man, I genuinely felt, for the first time in a long time, actually excited for where the MCU is heading, and to actually see that. And if Captain Marvel, I guess not Captain Marvel, if the Marvels can actually make people excited again for the MCU and get a little bit of that glimmer of that spark back, it's done its job. And it did it for me. That I genuinely, I don't know how people are reacting to this on the internet. There's all those people who are like, I hate Captain Marvel, I hate Brie Larson, everything is woke, and I don't really care about their opinion, because I don't. And I know that they're going to be in the comment sections blasting me for enjoying a movie that they don't like because of their politics, and they disagree with Brie Larson politically, which is stupid. I disagree with a lot of people politically. I can enjoy their movies, but I actually found myself having a good time. I found myself actually getting excited for the MCU again. I found myself wanting to go back and watch some of the MCU shows I've missed out on, like Ms. Marvel. And I found myself excited for the future of the MCU, which is something I haven't felt in a while. And so, yeah, pleasantly surprised by the Marvels movie. And it could be because I went in with such low expectations, but I did the same thing for The Flash, and I walked out way more unhappy, where The Flash was actually even worse than my worst fears. And so, it's not just because of my low expectations, it's because I actually think it was a decent movie. It was a good time. and it got me excited about the MCU again. That's all I can ask for. But with that being said, I want to know what you guys think. Head down in the comment section down below. Let's have a conversation about this thing. I would love to interact with you guys. If you could answer some of my questions and like logic loopholes that I didn't fully understand, that would be super helpful. I'm a small channel, so any little bit helps. Every comment, every like, every subscription really genuinely helps. It means a lot to me. So if you could do that, that would be great. Like, comment, subscribe, all that junk. I will see you in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.